Morning students, today we will start with one of our another chapter from class 7th in history, and that is our chapter number 5, Rulers and Buildings. We will discuss this chapter in two parts, students. So let's start with the first part. Student, as the chapter name is suggesting itself, Rulers and Buildings. What does that mean? That means that under different rulers we found different buildings. So let's start with the chapter, students. Student, what is said here? That if you see the figure number first, this is figure number first, and what is said here? It is said there that in figure number 1, it shows that the first balcony of the Qutub Minar. Qutub Minar is one of the building only, and we are studying about buildings. So Qutub Minar, what happened that Qutbuddin Aibak had constructed around Qutub Minar in 1199. Now who had constructed Qutub Minar? Qutbuddin Aibak. In which year? 1199. Now what is said here? You said that if you observe this pattern in this building, in this structure, what you will say or what you can observe, you can say that the pattern created under the balcony by the small arcs and geometrical designs. Various geometrical or numerous geometrical designs are used in the construction of Qutub Minar. Now what is said that, and on this various inscriptions are there. Now what are inscriptions, students? We have already studied about inscriptions in our earlier chapter. Inscriptions means writings on stones. So this is building made up of stones only. So some writings are written here on Qutub Minar which are called as inscriptions. So what is said here? It is said that the inscriptions under the balcony are found there. Certain inscriptions are there. Something is written there, and these inscriptions are there in Arabic language. Now what is there? The placing an inscription on such a surface required a great precision. Now see, as it is very, you can say, well designed and very, you can say, very depicted design or special design is mentioned or is found in this building. So only specialists can do this task of writing, and that too in Arabic language. So it's required specific skills to write inscriptions on Qutub Minar. That is what mentioned here. It requires specific skills. Then is, this building is made up of stone and bricks. You can see here also in this building. Now what is said here? It is said here that between the 8th and the 18th centuries, king and their officers built two kind of structure. What I am saying, students, that if we talk about between 8th and 18th century, basically two type of building structures were found everywhere. Now what are these two type of structures? Let's study, students. If we talk about the first one, we can talk about the forts, palaces, garden residences and tombs. Forts, why forts were there? So that kings can protect themselves from fights. Palaces where kings used to reside. Garden residences are there. So this is the first type of structure or first type of buildings that we used to found between this time period. And the second type of structure that we are founding at that particular time period is for public activity. These are for kings or for special peoples only. And second type of structures are for public activities. Public activity means these are those buildings where public occasions are held. Any ceremony can take place, or people used to gather there for some purposes like temples, mosques, tanks, wells, etc. People are residing there for particular purpose. So these type of two building structures that were found during this time period. Kings were expected to care for their subjects and by making structures for their use and comfort. Obviously, if kings are making structure, they would have made it in such a way that it would be easy for them, or it would give them a comfortable or easy life. Thereafter, students, they built temples, mosques and wells that we have already discussed above. However, domestic architecture, what do you mean by domestic architecture? Who is architect? Architect is the person who is giving designs to these buildings, who is responsible for making these buildings. Now two options are there for making these buildings. The first one is either you can approach the architect from your own country or from your own residence or own area, or second option is you can adopt architect from outside, any Britisher or some other residency, some other province. So here it is talking about domestic architect. Domestic architects means this architect belongs to their own residency, their own area. They build temples, mosques and wells. And domestic architect, large mansions. Mansions means havelis. At that moment big havelis were found of merchants. Who were merchants? Traders were merchants. Obviously they were having huge money with them, that is why they were capable of building large havelis, and they have survived only from the 18th century. So what we have studied till now, we studied regarding Qutub Minar, that very famous designery or boundaries there done by famous domestic architects, and two type of structures were found, building structures were found. First one is for special persons like king, and second one another type of structure is for public activities. The next is engineering skills and construction. Student, as I already told you and I showed you in that diagram also, it required very skillful, very creative person to do embroidery on stone surface. It's not an easy task to write inscriptions on the stones or to give a proper design. That is a very difficult task. So specific engineers with proper skills could do that task only, not other persons. So what is said there? It is said there that monuments provide an insight into the technologies used for construction. People started using technology at that moment for constructing these buildings. Take something like a roof for an example. If they want to construct the roof of a particular building, then definitely they have to take the help of the technology. Now what they said? They said that we can make this by placing, now what technology? Now what I said, if they want to make the roof of the building, then they have to adopt for a particular technology. Now the question is, what type of technology they would use? The answer is, they can place wooden beams. They used to place wooden beams or slab of stones across four walls. Four walls are there, across them they place wooden beams. But the task became difficult if we went to make a large room with elaborate superstructure. Now see, if they are constructing a small room, then it is very easy for them. What they used to do, they used to place a beam over the four walls and make the roof. But if they are making a large room, then following this particular technique, this particular technique is a difficult task for them. So what they did, they elaborate superstructure. They developed a superstructure for building large rooms. Now what is that? If they develop superstructure, that means that also requires sophisticated skills. Sophisticated skills means expertise skills. Now how they are doing that? Between the 7th and the 10th century, architects started adding more rooms. As I already told you, they started creating more rooms, doors and windows, buildings, roofs, etc. And for that, they used to place a horizontal beam in this way. Horizontal beam across the two vertical column. One column is there, another column is there, and they used to put one horizontal column over that. And they adopt this particular architect style, and this style is called as Trabeat or Corband. Is it clear? When Trabeat or Corband architect style is used, when on two vertical column and horizontal beam is passed, and when this particular architect structure is followed, when huge buildings or large rooms were framed. And the next is, the Trabeat style was used in the construction of, as I already told you, in large buildings like temples, mosques, tombs, and buildings attached to large step walls. You can see here, this is the Trabeat structure. This is the rough designing, and this is the particular building in which they have used this particular technology, Trabeat style. The next is, students, temple constructed in the early 11th century. Student, you can see one particular temple here, and this is the structure that was followed in the construction of that temple. Now what is said here, let's study, students. The Kandariyat Mahadev temple dedicated to Shiva. This temple is dedicated to Lord Shiva and was constructed in 1999 by the king Dhangaleva of the Chandela dynasty. Okay. Figure 3b, this is figure 3b, is the plan of the temple. See students, if right now also you are planning for constructing new house, then what will you do? It's not like that you will order the bricks and start constructing the house. No. First of all, you will visit the architect, just ask for a rough sketch, and then you are going to make particular house. Same is the case here. Before building this temple, they have made this rough sketch. This is how they are going to make the temple. And keeping this rough sketch in their mind, they constructed this temple. So what they said, the image of the chief deity was kept in the main shrine. Who was the chief deity? As this was the Shiva temple, then who was the chief deity? Lord Shiva was the chief deity for this temple. The image of the chief deity, that is Lord Shiva, was kept in the main shrine, and that is called as the main shrine, main area, and that area is called as Garbhagriha. This was the place for ritual worship where only the king and his immediate family and priest gathered. Garbhagriha was the place where the image of the chief deity, the image of the chief god, like if this is Shiva temple, the image of Lord Shiva is kept here. This was Garbhagriha. And only king and his family members were allowed to visit this particular place, Garbhagriha, not other people. And the next is, and they follow all the worship rituals there, king and his family members. Thereafter, students, this was the place for ritual worship where only the king, his immediate family and priest gathered. The Khajuraho complex contained royal temple. Now they are talking about Khajuraho temples. It also contained royal complex structure, not an easy structure, where commoners were not allowed to enter. So Khajuraho temple was one of the temple or one of the place where also kings, priest and his family members visit, and the commoners or the ordinary people were not allowed to visit that particular temple. The temples were decorated with elaborately carved sculptures. Obviously, if this particular place is specialized for the king only, then well-equipped stones, fine quality of stones, pebbles or bricks were used in this place in construction of this temple. The next is Rajarajeshwara temple. Rajarajeshwara temple is located at Thanjavur and had the tallest shikhra amongst the temple of its time. This is Rajarajeshwara temple and it has the tallest shikhra. What do you mean by shikhra? Shikhra means the top of the temple. The top of the temple is called as shikhra, and Rajarajeshwara temple among all the temples that were constructed at that time has the highest shikhra. Constructing it was not easy because there were no cranes in those days, and 90-ton stone for the top of the shikhra was too heavy to lift manually. 90-ton stone was used in construction of Rajarajeshwara temple. At that time, students' cranes were not available, so manually picking that much stone till the shikhra is very difficult task for all the architects, for all the persons who are involved in constructing it. So the architect built an inclined path to the top of the temple. So they build an inclined path. Inclined path means in this way so that they will be able to, you can say, take the stones up to the shikhra easily. They don't face any problem. Now what said, the path started more than 400 kilometers so that it would not be too steep. The path is not too steep. So, because if it would be steep, then the persons who are manually carrying the stone, there are the chances that they may got hurt. That is why the path was not too steep. This was dismantled after the temple was constructed, and once the temple got constructed, that inclined path got disappeared and it was taken off. But the residents of the area remembered the experience of the construction of the temple for a long time. But all the normal person, all the residents, resident means the common person who are living in that area, for a long duration of time they remember the construction of this temple because it took lot of efforts and lot of time and dedication by the people in the construction of this temple. But the residents of the area remember the experience of the construction of the temple for the long time, and even now a village near the temple is called Charupalam, the village of incline, and one village nearby this till now it is called as the village of incline. Why? Because inclined path was followed for the construction of this temple. Moving ahead, students. Then is two technological and stylish developments are noticeable from the 12th century. Two types of construction were noticeable from 12th century. Now what are these? The first one is the weight of the superstructure above the doors. Superstructure means large rooms above the doors, and the windows was sometimes carried by arcs. Superstructure above the doors that was carried out with the help of arcs. The next is this architect's form was called as arcuate. Why it is called as arcuate? Because from the word arcuate we can derive the word arc, because arc is used to carry out superstructure above for the construction of building. Then second structure is limestone cement was increasingly used in construction. This was very high quality cement. Very high quality cement is used in construction of these temples, which when mixed with stone chips hardened into concrete. When this cement is mixed with the stone, it became so concrete that when it will be applied for the construction of temple, it definitely going to give a good structure. This made construction of large structure easier and faster. Take a look at the construction site in figure number 6. You can see here also how people are engaged in the construction of the temple. The next topic is building temples, mosques and tanks. Temples and mosques were beautifully constructed because they were places of worship. As I already told you, they were places of worship, and usually kings and his family members used to visit these places. That is why they were beautifully constructed. They were also meant to demonstrate the now see why they were beautifully constructed. Why that much amount is spent in construction of temples, mosques or tanks? Because the temples or the mosques or the tanks have a great significance for the king. In what way they are signified? In what way they are important for the kings? Let's see, students. They here refers to temples or mosques. They represent or demonstrate the power, wealth and devotion of the patron. You know, in earlier times the amount of wealth was kept in the temples or the mosques only. Thereafter, students, take the example of the Rajarajeshwara temple. An inscription mentions that it was built by King Rajarajeshwara for the worship of his god Rajarajeshwaram. Okay, notice how now see, the name of the temple is Rajarajeshwara temple and the name of the king is Rajarajeshwaram. What does that mean? Or the king is keeping the temple on his name only. Reason behind, so that people, when the temple got constructed, people used to remind him. Whenever the temple name will be recited by the people, they are going to recite the name of the king as well. Now you will see that how the names of the rulers and the god were very similar, and why the name of the god and the rulers were very similar, that I already told you. Because whenever people are going to take the name of the god along with them, they are also going to take the name of the king as well. The king took the god's name because it was auspicious and he wanted to appear like a god. Auspicious means, you can say, very divine, and he wants to appear like God. Through the rituals of worship in the temple, one god, that is Rajarajeshwara Deva, honored another, that is Rajarajeshwara. These were two different gods. The next is, the largest temple were all constructed by kings. Obviously that will be constructed by king only, because in construction of large temples it required huge funds, and those funds would be provided by the kings only. Then is the other lesser deities in the temple were gods and the goddesses of the allies and the subordinates of the ruler. Lesser deities means which are of not more importance, which are of least importance, were other gods and goddesses of the allies and their subordinates. The temple was a miniature model of the world ruled by the king and his allies. All over the world, whatever captured or whatever the places are ruled by the king, the temple represent that thing. Temple is miniature model of that. The next is, as they worshipped their deities together in the royal temples, it seems as if they bore the just rule of the gods on earth. It was believed that they just brought the rule of God on the earth. The next is, Muslim sultans and padishahs did not claim to incarnation of gods, but Persian court chronicles described the sultan as the shadow of God. Muslim sultans used to describe their king as the shadow of God. They are giving this title to him. Why? Because an inscription, an example is also given here, an inscription in the Quwat-e-Islam mosque. This is particular mosque in which one inscription is there. Inscription means if mosque is there, stone building is there, alone stone, whatever is written, that is inscription only. So what is written here? It is written that God chose Alauddin as king because he had the quality of Moses and Solomon. Moses and Solomon are their gods. And what is written here? Alauddin was their king, and they are saying that Alauddin was king because God chose him. Why God chose him? Because they can say that he has all the qualities of their God. Which gods? Moses and Solomon. And that is what is written on the walls. The next is the great lawgivers of the past. The greatest lawgiver and the architect of the God himself. He created the world out of the chaos and introduced order and symmetry. Now what is said here, students? Let me repeat it again. I said that if we are talking about Muslim sultans, and I said that in Quwat-e-Islam mosque, on the wall of this mosque, particular writing is there, and that writing is for the king. That writing is representing king. And what that writing suggests? That writing suggests that Alauddin was their king because he contained all the qualities of Moses and Solomon. Who were Moses and Solomon? They were their God. And second thing, he created the world out of the chaos. Out of the chaos means out of the work, and introduced order and symmetry in their kingdom. And thereafter, students, as each new dynasty came to power, kings wanted to emphasize their moral right to be rulers. King want to emphasize that it is their moral duty to follow the rulers. Constructing places of worship provided rulers with a chance to proclaim their close relationship with God, and especially important in the age of rapid political change. At that moment, political changes were there and they were going frequently or very rapidly. So what is said there? That kings represent a close relationship with the God. Rulers also offered patronage to learned emperors and tried to transform their capitals and cities into great cultural centers. Rulers, kings, they were offered that if they want to convert their area into great cultural centers, they can, because that why that particular place needed to be changed into cultural center, because if they are going to do that, it would bring more fame to their rule and their religion. They will become more famous among other rulers, among their people. It was widely believed that the rule of just king would be an age of plenty when the heavens would not withhold rain. At the same time, making precious water available by constructing. Now till now we discussed regarding temples and mosques. In the first paragraph we discuss about temple, in the second one we discuss about mosque, and now we are discussing about tanks, how tanks were important. So what is why tanks were important? Tanks were important because they were used to store water. So that is what said here. At the same time, making precious water available by constructing tank and reservoirs was highly praised. Kings were praised for the construction of tank because it helped in storing large amount of water. Sultan Iltutmish won universal respect for constructing a large reservoir just outside Dilli Khwana. Outside Dilli Khwana, Iltutmish developed one tank and he was known for the construction of this tank or reservoir. It was called the Haze Sultani or the King's Reservoir. That was called as King's Reservoir. Can you find out on the map 1 in chapter 1 where rulers often constructed tanks and reservoirs big and small for use by ordinary people? Sometimes these tanks and reservoirs were part of the temple. Sometimes what happens? Reservoirs or tanks were constructed inside the temple or inside the mosque only, and sometimes they were constructed at a separate place. The next is, note the small tank in the Jama Masjid or Gurudwara. Gurudwara and Jama Masjid both are the place of worship for people. Congregants for Sikhs. They were of great importance for Sikhs. So in this topic we studied that how king constructed beautiful temples, beautiful mosques and reservoirs on their name, because all these three have great importance for the king. Students, we will discuss about rest of our topics in our next video. Thank you, students.